Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good evening, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. On this rainy Friday evening, I'm tired today, you know. You guys have one of those days that just beats the fuck out of you the entire way through. That was today. And regardless, we're here to talk about the movie Sacramento, which, may be fitting based on what this movie is. Now, I'm familiar with this movie. I haven't seen it before, but I did, I do a lot of stuff on the local festival circuit, like New York Film Festival, Tribeca, Hamptons, all of that kind of stuff. And this is a movie that showed up quite a few times across the various festivals. I think the first time I saw it appear was for Tribeca, and I think it was on my possible list, and I ended up not doing any movies at Tribeca. I did a video game showcase. And then I didn't see it at any of the other festivals, and now here we are. So it's a movie where it is Michael Cera, and I don't know the other actor's name, but he looks really familiar, and the whole time my brain's going, it's Ned from Ned Declassified, but I don't think it is, and I didn't sit through the credits to verify, which would have been the smart thing to do. But it's these two guys, both of whom are dealing with their shit, who go on a trip. One tricks the other to go on trips, that way they can work out their shit, which is one of my favorite subgenres of drama. Like, you take two people, they both have their problems, maybe the problems are similar, maybe the problems are intertwined, who knows. You put them together, you let the two of them fight it out, and you let the two of them figure out, what their issue is. And this movie does it very well. It's a story of a guy who is dealing with the death of his father, and among other things, and he goes to an old friend of his, tricks him to go on a trip to Sacramento, because his intent is to reconnect with the mother of his child. Now, you also have the guy he tricked, he's played by Michael Cera, who is this ball of anxiety because his wife, who is Kristen Stewart, I would say that, the one thing about this movie is I think the two female, quote-unquote, leads are kind of wasted. Kristen Stewart is becoming one of my favorite actresses, and I think she does a great job here, and I think Maya Erskine is also really good in this movie. I think the two of them are wasted, though, in their roles, as kind of just, sounding boards for the two male characters. Now, the issue is his wife's about to give birth, and he's a ball of anxiety because he wants to protect the kid from everything. And it is kind of a great, it's that kind of issue that he's dealing with. Now, the movie's not perfect, and I would venture to say maybe it's not even particularly great. I would say it's good, it's passable, and I think there are enough comedic moments to carry it through to make it entertaining enough to watch. But for a movie like this, what you need to do is you need to land the emotional resolution. You need to land the end of the movie where the characters realize what they did and come to terms with that and then move on. And I get that's not realistic, the idea that people are going to, over the course of whatever this period is, come to terms with all their flaws and just, boom, be good. I get that's not how people work and that's not real life, but these are movies. And I think the issue is, the movie kind of ends off in a place where, not ends, but the action of the movie, before we get to the falling action, kind of ends in a place where I don't feel that either character really learned anything. And I think part of that comes from the fact that I don't think either of them are particularly well defined. The relationship between these two isn't really defined in the movie. And I'm not saying I need to know every detail of their life, but even we get a brief glimpse in how they met, which is we were in the same lane in swimming practice, and one almost killed the other because of his selfishness. And it's just it's a great allegory for the nature of their friendship, but what was it about them that made them stay friends that I'm going to care about over the course of this movie? And I think that's a question that the movie doesn't really answer. Why should I care about these two? That is kind of my big problem. And there are some interesting things. I think the way they portray an anxiety attack is very well done. I think there is, there's a lot to be said for strong performances, because I think that the two of them carry this movie, and it is essentially a two-hand job. No, that's not how I meant it. It is basically the two of them for a good amount of the movie. There's very little other cast, and you do get Maya Erskine in the beginning, and then when she shows up toward the end, and then you get Kristen Stewart kind of, laying it out. But I don't think anything that's really important needs to actually get addressed in a meaningful way. And we get to the end, it feels like the movie ends because that's how we've reached the end of the movie. And I think that's kind of leaves you in an unfulfilling place for the viewer. The viewer is not going to... I didn't feel fulfilled by the end of this movie. Which is a shame, because I think that if they managed to nail that, this movie would have been great. And would have been one of the great. And I feel like if that was the case, considering this came out for the first time that I saw at Tribeca last year, or maybe even South by Southwest. I didn't go, but I was monitoring the movies at South by Southwest. Or maybe it even was at Sundance. Either way, the point is, it came out last year. It did the festival circuit last year. So the movie does the festival circuit last year, then what are we... why is it coming out now? And I think it comes down to the narrative doesn't carry us through the end. And I haven't seen A Real Pain, or A Real Pain, the movie that what's it called, that Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor for. I haven't seen that movie yet. It's on Hulu. I intended to watch it. I haven't yet. I have a lot of shit that I'm working with. The issue with that is, that movie, I would assume, is a similar thing, where you have these two brothers who are dealing with their own personal shit. The two of them go on this trip, and then ta-da, you get to the end, and they've resolved their problems. And that, I think, is what this movie should have, ended on. Or at least intertwined a little bit better. Because it's by the time you get to the end, it's the end of the movie, I don't get the sense that Michael Cera has learned how to be a better person from his experience. And by the time we get to the end, I don't feel that... I don't know the other actor's name, but he plays Ricky. I don't know that he has learned how to be a better person. And fundamentally, when you have a movie like this, if you're not going to make a conscious choice for these characters to be static, which you could do and have it work, but if you're not consciously going to have these characters be static, and clearly they're not, because the epilogue shows them dynamic, because they've changed, and Ricky is now in this relationship with I forgot her name. I want to say Tilly, but I don't think that's it. Played by Maya Erskine, and they're clearly in a relationship. Good for them. And he's there, and she's having another kid, and they're together. Like, the idea that this is the idea that this character then in that year had that character development, it's like, then what was the point? Like, was the point of this movie just to show us the inciting incident for them going to therapy? Like, because I feel like there's a lot that's kind of skipped over. Anytime you have one of these road trip movies, the road trip is about learning something about yourself. The road is just the vehicle to learn that thing. And I don't feel that the characters learned anything on this trip. Like, it gets to the point where it's like the two of them are still deeply in denial and still deeply in defense mechanisms by the time you get to the start of the third act. Like, when you get the moment where he's like, fine, I wanted to go up to Sacramento to talk to her because because of that, both characters are still deeply hiding important information from the other, and I don't feel that it's never revealed to Ricky by the end of the movie that Michael Cera lost his job. And if the movie's about Michael Cera having to learn to open up and let people in, then I don't feel that this experience did that for him. And the same way, I don't feel that, I just feel like there was not enough done to further that. And the performances are great. I love the cinematography. I think they do, like I said, I think they do some great stuff when it comes to showing a panic attack and like really articulating that and making that feel real. Like, I think that those are all really great things that this movie does very well. I think there's definitely things that could have been improved on. I think the narrative standpoint of it are the thing that I bump into the most, because it's just, if you're going to do this, if you're going to have this character do this, the point of this is to watch the character do the work. The point of this experience for the viewer is to watch someone go through this thing. If they're not going to go through this thing, then what are we doing here? Like, at the end of the day, like I said, this is the beginnings where we're watching the characters figure out that they need to go to therapy. And I don't think that's enough. And the thing is, too, it's like, well, we saw Michael Cera was in therapy. At the beginning of the movie, they made that point where it's like Dr. whatever her name was is the one who, like, is the, or was it just, what's it called who said that? Was it just Kristen Stewart who said that? It's one of those things where it's like there's a lot that is in play that really isn't there and really addressed. Like, I think that that's kind of the thing that is missing here. That said, when we get the reveal that he's a father, I should have seen that coming, and I just didn't. Like, I just didn't see that coming when that happened, which is so stupid, because it's like Chekhov's, like, intimacy scene. Because it wasn't even, I wouldn't even call it a sex scene, because it's like, I don't think it's even implied in the scene that they had sex. I think it's just implied that they're kind of just hanging out and cuddling, and they're because that's the thing, is that it's like very early on, like the whole way they kind of cut that up is very weird. I would have cut it a little bit differently, where it's like the realization that the two of them have nothing in common, I feel should have come later. The realization that the two of them have nothing in common should have come after the scene of the two of them just kind of cuddling and hanging out. Like, I feel like that should have been cut a little bit differently, but either way, the point is, like, that happens, and then you get the scene with the two of them in the bar with the two girls, or the two women who run the gym, and he finds out she's a mom, and then he can't go through with it. But at the same time, it's like, it's the only time we show him show any restraint in his behavior. But this whole thing is just, I feel like there was a better way through for a good amount of this movie, and I feel like that's kind of the biggest disappointment here, is this idea that, there is a better path. There are other things that we could have done to tell this same story and had it be better. And I think the thing is, too, it's like the thing you don't have to do is worry about the performances. Because the performances are fantastic, and that carries the movie. Like, the willingness that you'll have to go with these characters comes from the actors and them putting on the performance that they do. If not for that, I would say this is a lower mid-tier movie. But I think this is only upper mid-tier is because the performances and all of that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough. I would say this is a solid 3 on our scale, 3 out of 5. Maybe 3.5. We'll say 3.5. Because there is enough there to like that I think that it is enjoyable. And I would watch this again. Like, this is a movie that I may put on again. If I see it's on streaming and it's on a streaming service that I have, I may watch this movie again. Only because I loved the performances, especially as you get toward the end. I love the performances in this movie. It's just the narrative cohesion isn't there. And I think that's something that, maybe a rewrite could have addressed, or a rewrite or two could have addressed, and it's a shame that wasn't there. But we'll wrap up there for today. Coming up next week, we have Sinners from, Sinners from Ryan Coogler, and directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld. Later this weekend, we have the beginning of the new season of Doctor Who. On Sunday, Doctor Who season 2 or season 15 or whatever, the new season with a new companion, and then we have and then on Monday morning we'll be doing The Last of Us. We'll be back with The Last of Us, and Daredevil ends this week, so we got quite a bit happening. And over on the Backlog Files, we'll be pivoting towards more of an indie focus, because, you can't really afford to switch to, and we talked about it briefly in the episode about tariffs, the decision that we made, and I think I also put it up on MWPnews.com, explaining the decision. We may have something new to announce there in the next few weeks, but we will see. But, like I said, we will wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.